Welcome to The Real Deal, where we get real about what it takes to succeed. Whether it's wealth, health, relationships, or finding your purpose, we talk to the masters to uncover the secrets to defying the odds and creating your own rock star legacy. I'm Doug, and after working on multiple Grammy-winning records as an author, transformational speaker, and your personal translightenment coach, I'm committed to your growth and success. And now, here's the real deal. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're ready.
Okay, so before we begin, I do have to honor the sponsor right now, which is me. So, are you feeling stressed out? Perhaps overwhelmed by trepidation, anxiety, and stress? Then go to guidedhypnotic.com and download your free guided hypnotic meditation. Bust your anxiety once and for all with your guided hypnotic meditation at guidedhypnotic.com. All right, so again, don't get, and I didn't use a voice changer on that. That was me. Okay.
That's a radio voice right there, baby.
Yeah. Well, I got a face for it. It works out good. All right. So, are you ready for the best introduction you've had all day?
Absolutely.
All right. DJ Thielen comes from some seriously humble beginnings, being raised by a single mom and a parent. His mother was his hero. Growing up poor financially, having no dad, having some abuse, having ADHD, and hating school were just a few of the challenges he had to overcome. Due to his athletic ability, he was the 6th pick of the San Francisco Giants in the Major League Baseball draft in 1991 and played professional baseball for 6 years before retiring. However, when baseball abruptly ended is when the true entrepreneur kicked in. DJ started his first of many companies at the age of only 28 years old. Since then, he has started multiple companies, written 2 best-selling books, is a public and keynote speaker, and sold over 3,000 properties equaling over $250 million. He's the CEO of one of the top turnkey real estate investment firms in the country and has created a home flipping and wholesaling academy that has earned him the nickname The Game Changer. DJ, what is going on?
I love it, man. I love it. What's up, buddy? Good to be on with you, man.
You too. So I just want to also give a little backup on how we met, because I think it's instructive, because one of the things that I know we both believe in is coaching and personal development and being sure that we're, investing in ourselves. And we met with James Malinchak at one of his events at his house. And we just hit it off. You're an outstanding guy. I know you continue to work with James. I haven't had a whole lot of opportunities to, but we still stay in touch. But it's so powerful when we go to events like that, the level of people that we can meet. And it's just amazing how we just, clicked and stayed in touch ever since. And that is so amazing. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah. Had you and Heidi on my show.
Yeah,
and which was really, really cool. And but yeah, that's James Mallett. Shout out to James, man, the secret millionaire, baby.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, at his house, right? And I think that so many people, it's people that understand. Is that on your side?
Yeah, it says you're calling me. I'm gonna decline it.
Weird.
Yeah.
I must have accidentally hit something. But mentorship, man, is huge, and it's cool because when you go to stuff like that, you see you people that have never went, that you wonder like, oh, I'm not into that, or what kind of people are going to be. It's successful people that are like, hey, I got to keep pouring into myself. I got to keep learning. I got to keep growing. I've got to keep learning like little moves, like even with James. I mean, the amount that I spent with James, the moves that I learned, power words, right? Little things like words, even in script, when you're writing script, words not to use, words to use. I mean, that can be worth irreplaceable, So I think it's just, pouring into yourself and always looking like, hey, man, I got to this level. How can I go to the next level, the next stair?
Always. And what was cool about you is your, I mean, not only is just your vibe so awesome, like you're just a great guy, is your story is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I know we touched upon it in your intro, but like share a little bit, like what are some of the challenges that have brought you to where you are based on what you learned from them? Because it's obviously entrepreneurship and starting businesses is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. And you certainly capitalized on your opportunities to grow.
Yeah, it's easier than hitting a major league fastball.
Right.
But I think like for me, buddy, I took a lot of things that I took a lot of things that I didn't that I thought were like curses growing up, like it's like negatives, right? So we were poor or had some abuse, had ADD, hated school. Like, dude, back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, that wasn't like, it's not a good combination anyways, right. But it's not a good combo. And I share these things with people to say, hey, maybe you didn't go through the things I went through, but we've all been through some messed up stuff, Right. And so it's just understanding that, hey, my past doesn't equal my future. And I think I took a lot of things from baseball, not when I was playing, right? Because that's how it is, right? It's like you got a great parent. It's like, oh, they'll realize someday how great I was to them, right? but not in the moment. And so I took a lot of things from baseball that I didn't realize at the time that really helped me kind of keep my perception on guard and like, for example, how to deal with failure, right? I had a bad at bat. Well, just because you have a bad at bat, you got 3 more, right? So it doesn't mean that because it compounds, this, right? So you have a bad at bat, leads to an error in the field, leads to another bad at bat, and pretty soon it compounds, and a bad at bat could lead into a bad week and a bad month and a bad season, or you can leave it at a bad at bat. So understanding, and I didn't know how to do this then when I was in the game. So I look back now and go, man, that is one of the keys, right? Understanding how I can control my energy, I can control my happiness, I can control my emotions. Like the things that we as people have control over, Doug, like we have control over the most important things, which is our mindset, what we're thinking, what we're believing, our happiness, our joy inside, right? And so many people just it's easy, I should say, and I do it too, right? We let outside circumstances dictate how we feel instead of letting how we feel vibrate that vibration, and that's going to dictate what happens around us. And I think that's probably one of the big keys that I've learned is that our energy and our attitude controls what happens to us, not I struck out, so it pissed me off, right? Because that's all I knew growing up was this happened, it made me mad. This happened, it made me feel good. This happened, it made me happy. This happened, it made me sad. This happened, it made me pissed off.
Yeah, perfect recipe for codependence.
Oh, totally, man. Yeah, totally. And so understanding, and I'm still at 49 almost, 49 next week. I'm still working through stuff. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. Probably now more than ever, is realizing, man, I can do so much more. And it's funny. I always tell myself like, hey, I'm just getting started. People say, hey man, how's it going? I say, hey, it's great, but really I'm just getting going, because I always want to keep that perception where it's like, I want to keep myself in check, and I never, ever, ever want to feel like mentally, right, is what I'm talking, that I've arrived at, because then things just go backwards.
Well, and you said it's interesting. A good friend of mine, I don't know if you know him, Johnny Wimbry. Do you know Johnny? I'll introduce you. Great guy. He knows James, and so it's part of that same crew. He posted today, and he's a huge, like double black diamond leader in iBoomerang, and crushing it, probably doing easily 6 figures a month in his team. And he posted today. He goes, my commitment is to take my business to the next level with only new people. I'm starting over. I'm acting as if I don't have this huge downline, and I'm going to pretend that that is my baseline. I'm going to build from here. And that's similar to what you just shared, like just coming from that, hey, I'm just getting started. Like just because I've had these successes, I'm not resting on my laurels and pretending that like, you know, I've arrived.
Yeah.
That there's like once we hit a peak, there's a new perspective, a new level to get to.
Yeah.
But something, Sharon, we talked about this the other day is, you know, you've hit rock bottom before. And it's easy for you and I and anybody to say, oh, yeah, just choose happiness when you don't have all of that stuff coming in, right? So how did you, at the times when you were at your lowest, when you lost, like, basically all of your resources and everything that you had at that time, how did you pull yourself out of that and get into that, it's another at bat, and not allow the evidence, the external evidence dictate how you were feeling?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. So and a lot of people don't know this, actually, what I shared with you briefly the other day. So when I had a son unplanned, he was born, and I, not having a dad, I decided that I wanted to be there. And so I was very torn, decided to leave the game, take care of him, make sure he was good, and figure things out, sort my mind out, because it was all over the place, and then go back the next year. And I never went back. But from that, I tried to marry his mom. Right, we got married. Wasn't a great situation. She wonderful person, but had some challenges with battles with drugs, alcohol, things like that. So, which you guys counsel people, so you are familiar with.
Yeah.
And so, that led down to us not being together. And then I raised them, his whole life with my wife now, who we've been together 16 years. But ultimately, I think that when that happened, when I was with her, things went sideways. It was a very tough time in life, and it ended up to where this is back in about maybe 2000, so about 20 years ago. Lost everything. I remember I had a Land Rover, and they literally the renovation people came to my office, right? And they were like, "Hey, man, we don't want to embarrass you or anything," because it was my company. And thank God I sold it, and that pulled me out of it. But I was like, man, I mean, that's some humbling shit, man.
Yeah.
Right? When the what do you call it? The
Man.
The what?
The repo man.
The repo. Yeah, the repo people, right? Came up, and I was like, man, had to empty it and give my key to them, and kind of not share with people what's going on, right? And so, lost my house to foreclosure, moved in with my brother, and really, thank God for my brother. I mean, he and I are close. His name's Derek, a wonderful guy. Love him to pieces. But went to live with my brother at the time, Doug, and he had a business and a company, and they had these tickets to go see. I was like valued at $4,000 or whatever, to go see a gentleman who's been on your show, named Marshall Silver. So I went to Turning Point, my first ever, and that was really the first time that I was told, outside of swallowing fire, right, and all that cool stuff. That was the first time that I ever. We had an assignment. I think it was after day one, to go home and write out your perfect day, right? So write out your perfect day. If you could live this day every day over and over, how would you live it? So went home and did that. And I think that was really no pun intended, but that was really, really, it was a turning point for me. It got my mind looking forward, looking towards the future, not sunk in the past, not thinking about the past, and looking back. Right now I can look back and think and go, wow, if I would have just kept thinking about the misery and thinking about what happened and woe is me, and I had this, and I playing the victim, man, I would have never moved forward.
Right.
I would have just kept getting more of that bullshit in my life. So I went to that. It got me looking forward, and literally about a year later, half the things that I wrote on this perfect day at the time, which, you know, my vision wasn't as big as it is now,
Right.
it actually came true. So I was, you know, from the car I had to the place I was living, and I looked up and literally I unpacked. You heard this on The Secret. I literally moved from my brother's, unpacked this box, and I hadn't looked at this in months. The perfect day, right? Maybe like 10 months. And I pulled this thing out and I'm like, holy shit, man. Like half the things I wrote on there, I was already living that quick, right? Manifesting,
Wow. Yeah.
you know? And so that happened. So that was really the first time I was exposed to like the power of the mind, the power of our beliefs and manifesting. And
well, and the importance of going to those events and, you know, taking that time to give yourself, invest in yourself in, you know, and it's easy, I guess, sometimes for people to be like, oh, you know, it's the money, but really it's the time you put into it, because you could have gone to the event and then not done the exercise. But you put the time into it. You really got the most out of it. And by the way, this isn't a commercial for Marshall. He's doing, but you know, I will suggest he's doing a virtual turning point now. So, you know, let's we'll connect with them and make him a nice testimonial, because that would be, you know, I'm sure he'd appreciate it, because it's a powerful event. Yeah,
I mean, that was, and since then, not only have I done that 4 times, but have manifested it 4 times. And so, yeah, very important to, I think, you know, a lot of things in life, right? Gratitude and all this, but like having a vision for your life. And it led me, actually, it's a big part of my academy and mentorship now, Doug, where I tell people, say, hey, this is the fast track to manifesting is, you have a vision board of your best version of you in all areas, physically, mentally, you know, financially, the car you want, the house, yes, of course, but the relationship you want with your wife, husband, like everything on the vision board. Then you write out a perfect day that aligns with the vision board, right? Mm-hmm. And then you write down a routine, a daily routine and habits that you will follow that align with who the person is on the vision board. And right. So what you're doing is now you're aligning your energy, your thoughts, and everything that you're manifesting. But also, right, if you have that vision board and you write out a perfect day and you've got a shitty routine and smoke weed and eat Cheetos till noon every day, and then wonder why like life isn't, you know, moving forward. Hey, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with smoking weed and eating Cheetos, by the way, right? I'm sure a lot of successful people do. I'm just saying,
well, they don't all day.
All day, not all day, yeah. But if it doesn't align, right, what, like looking at that vision board and saying, who would that person hang out with? Right? And making a note. Mm-hmm. And acting as if you're already that person, even before you're that person. And that's probably the biggest thing that I found in life is, I mean, I remember when I was talking about speaking with Grant, who I've become friends with, Cardone, before I even spoke with him, you know? And so, but just playing this in your head on, and then putting the work, right? So the vision is great. The perfect day is great. Reading it every day is great. But then having a routine that in the thoughts, right? The routine and of the action, the activity you're doing, and the mental side, the thoughts that align with who would that person hang out with? What would they listen to when they were driving down the road? What would they do in the first thing in the morning? What time would they get up? What would they do at night? Right. So in literally thinking about how would that person behave? And then really doing your best to put yourself forward in that space as if you're already there. And I found like that's what I found has kept me going in life through my ups and downs and dark times is just having redoing a vision, you know, for the future in my life. And it's been a huge game changer.
Well, and what's cool is that 2 things. One, Napoleon Hill talked about his the guy that taught him. I'm not Napoleon Hill, Jim Rohn. So Earl Shope said to him, "Look, go out and earn $1 million, but not for the $1 million, but who you must become in order to earn the $1 million.
Yeah.
And that's so true. You know, it's really, we all know it's up here. Every millionaire I've spoke to, and I'll ask you, you know, what was the hardest thing about becoming a millionaire?
I think I think the hardest thing about achieving any level of financial success is the limiting beliefs that we believe about ourselves, right? Our self-talk, our you know, especially for me growing up very poor, you know, we can't, you know, hearing over and over and over, we can't afford this, you can't get that, money doesn't grow on trees was very commonly thrown around. And it wasn't said intentionally to hurt me,
Of course,
but of course, right? I had a loving family, amazing mom, great grandparents, but it was still there. And those were some things that I always wondered why I'd get to a certain level and cap, right? And then get to a certain level and cap. And it was because of the beliefs, feeling like I wasn't worthy or I didn't deserve, right? The subconscious playing that I didn't deserve to have this, or, you know, I mean, you probably have a way better idea than I do, like why that occurs.
Well, it's exactly that. It's they've all said in some manner or form is the first million was the hardest, and not because of what it took to earn the money. Because once you've achieved it, they're like, oh yeah, now it flows to me effortlessly. It was the first million was the hardest because took the most work to get my mindset right to believe that I could do it, or that I was worth it, or that it was possible. That is the most challenging work, and I'm sure you may not. And the other thing I was going to touch on with that is your sports experience. I'm sure that when you were the most successful, when you got into the zone, you were visualizing success in whatever play you were going to be doing and whatever experience you're going to have in your at bat. When you would be getting up there, when you're stepping up to the plate, you knew you would fail if you went up there visualizing yourself failing.
Yeah.
But if you went up there and you did visualize, and I kind of make the joke, but I remember the old school, I don't know if Babe Ruth ever did this, but the badass guy goes out there and he just points to like where it's going to go. And he's just got so much certainty and belief it's going out the park.
Yeah.
Right? Which the purpose of that, I don't think people really realize it. The purpose of that is twofold. Not only is it owning that that's going to happen, but it's to put doubt in the pitcher's mind and the team's mind to psych them out so that they start having limiting beliefs, which is going to impact their performance.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, it was, I'll tell you, in college, I had a game that was, still talked about. In fact, in my college I went to, I still hold the all-time like RBI record and all of that. But the funny thing was I had a game where I hit 4 home runs in a row. I hit what's called a cycle for home runs. So I hit a solo home run with no one on. Next at bat, I hit a 2-run home run. Next at bat, I hit a 3-run home run. And in my last time up, I hit a grand slam. And they were actually to all fields. So I hit 1 to left. I hit 2 to right, center, 1 to left, and the last one to center. And it was like just literally going up there, right? Like I knew I was going to hit it out. Like it was not, I want to, it was just this like feeling of like it's happening.
Yep.
And so like understanding I think the key is understanding how to get that back, understanding like when you're going through a tough time with challenges or struggles, how can I get that vibe and that vibe? I really think it's, some spiritual stuff, but I feel like it's really a vibration. Mm-hmm. And because I wasn't thinking like about it, right? So it wasn't really a thought. It was more like it's happening. Like
it was resolved. It was ownership. It was conviction, not just a thought, not a hope, not a dream. It was like it's already done. It's like it's done in your mind, and not to go down like a rabbit hole of like, quantum physics, but it's like the Matrix. Like when they were in there and remember they were fighting and Morpheus to Neo is like, you think you're breathing that air?
Yeah.
Like Morpheus had so much ownership in the Matrix, he wasn't even thinking that he needed to breathe because he was so in the zone.
Yeah.
And I've noticed the most successful people, they know how to access their genius state. They know how to access their zone, especially when stuff is not going right. And, and we're seeing it right now. We put a timestamp on what's going on right now. This is, July of 2020. And we're in the midst of a pandemic that I think most people thought was going to be over by now. And I don't think that, obviously no one was prepared for this. I shouldn't say that. Some conspiracy theorists might say that there are some prepared for it. But the average person, guys like you and I, we weren't sitting there in January going, oh, I expect we're going to have a complete shutdown of the entire economy, country, and all of the work that we've been doing in some area of life to be stopped on a dime.
Yeah.
Yet there are people who are figuring it out. And I know you're one of them. What happened? What were you working on? Did you have to pivot? Were you working on some things that when this came down, it brought your approach to a halt?
That's a great question, man. And I think this answer will help a lot of people. I'm so used to, I'm like a Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Vaynerchuk says, listen, while you're trying to overanalyze and get everything perfect before you move or take action, right? You're trying to be a perfect 3-0 and I'm 119 to 87, right? So I might have missed 87 times, but I made 119 while you made 3, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, I've gotten really comfortable at understanding what needs to be done. And when this all happened, it caused a lot of fear, right? So obviously we have a real estate investment company. When fear's out there in the market, it locks things up a little. So at the time, I started thinking ahead and going, okay, what can we do what's a strategy that we can use that's different than what anyone else is doing? Because this is how I created my the evolution of home flipping, right? Is how to flip homes, make your money, not use your money, have your money in a couple days. So I've always, growing up poor, I talk about this a lot, playing video games with pennies at 10, straws at 11. I was always thinking backwards. So it's like I go back to the things that happen to you in your life that you thought were negative, like, oh, I don't got money, but you learned a way around it, right? End up being a blessing in the future, because now I can so easily look at things and reverse engineer, as a lot of people call it now, right? It's so breathing to me. So it's easy for me to find solutions that are outside of the box of what most people would think. So I started thinking, how can we come up with a investment strategy where we can get people into deals? Okay, there's fear. How can we carve a niche inside of this where we can get people into properties for, instead of them having to spend 50 or 60 cash, maybe we can find a way to get them into properties for 15 to 20. And then that got me thinking of options and ways, and I created that. And it's been something that now we have this niche that I've created that is very unique, that people love. It's easy to deliver on. And now the fear is lifted. So now we have that strategy going for us, but we also have the people picking back up that were a little nervous or scared or worried that are wanting to buy cash again, right? So I feel, and Doug, I feel like the people around you, okay, you have to guard I'm telling you guys, you have got to make sure that you have the right people around you, right? Because if you're vibing, man, and you have, I've had good apples and bad apples around me. And listen, at times I've been the bad apple, right? Listen, I can admit it, man. Right? I've been the bad apple in the bunch. But I think you have to be on guard and understand it's okay to lose people in your life if it's not serving you, if it's not healthy for you. and not feel like, oh, well, there, listen, it just wasn't hell. I've got, because now you make room for higher level friendships. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with this, right? People that are going to call me and tell, hey, DJ, I just want you to know, man, I hope you have an awesome day, man. Thanks for all you do. Love you. I got a friend like that, John Guyette. Shout out to Johnny G. Very successful business guy. He sends me videos at least once a week. Hey, bro, just wanted to inspire you, man, and shoot this to you. Like that, who does that anymore? Right. So like choosing, and I think this is a big thing too, Doug, is for those of you listening to realize the most important things in your life you have control over. You can control your thoughts, whether you believe it or not. You can control your emotions, whether you believe it or not. You can control your energy. If you want to feel happy, no matter what's going on around you, you can control. Look at Nelson Mandela. I mean, there's proof. There's proof, right? So you look at, like, I have control over my mind, my thoughts, my feelings, my energy, the people I want to hang around. I mean, literally, you can control the most important things in your life. And I think that in a time where people feel out of control is to come back and maybe they hear this message, you're like, God, DJ's right. I have so much more control in what's happening. Who gives a shit who the president is, what's going on? Are we pulling out of this? When are we pulling out of it? I mean, who cares, right? Because you can't control it.
Right.
So I think giving energy to the things, realizing that we as people have more power and more, we have more control than we give ourselves credit for.
100%. I mean, my one of my programs is called Freedom Hack. And that's what it's about. Freedom hacking is about creating emotional freedom of choice. And we get to choose that. And one of the things I'll share, Heidi shared this with me. All my years with Tony Robbins, I started out crewing, and that was when I first got into it. And I was a fire teamer and all that. And then Heidi started doing it when we were together. And one of the things that, I don't know if it was being said before then, and when I was on the fire team, because at the time I was, training and in, with the participants, and Heidi was on the fire team, and there was some things that you had to do that just sucked. Like, you're preparing for a firewalk. There's a lot of tedious work you got to do. That's hot, that's sweaty, that's long, and all of that. And the term that she came back with was that, we embrace the suck. We embrace it, right? We can't change it. So then dance with it instead of resisting it. We embrace it. And right now, there's a lot of crap going on. But if we embrace it, if we choose to go, okay, let's embrace it and go, like what you shared was brilliant. We said, okay, can't change it. What can I do? Well, let's find a new strategy that can help people, knowing that there's going to be a shift in mindset. There's fear. How can we mitigate that? How can we still offer something? And that's so true with our families, right? How can we offer that even just on an emotional and spiritual level for our families who are struggling right now? Give them that certainty. The stuff, we may not have the same revenue coming in right now, but if we get freaked out by it, we're certainly not going to get any more. But we got to be there for our families. And then, like who we surround ourselves with is going to be a direct reflection. It's going to be like the vibration you were talking about. They're going to feed off each other in an interdependent way, not in a codependent way. Like misery loves company. And so does happiness. So does success. They just choose to hang out with happy, with success, with joy, with funny. And
you said it right, man. And I think too that Doug, dude, we could chop it up all day, man.
I know.
I'm telling you. But like you hit on something that was really important, and people. It's really fear to me. Fear is it's I don't know if it's the most destructive thing in the world, but it's up there, right? Yeah. Because it causes you to not see opportunities. It causes you to only see problems where there's opportunities and solutions inside of a lot of things. Fear causes us to not take chances, not take risks, to stress, right? Suicide, right? The suicide rate is one. I just saw the other day, 1 every 40 seconds in the United States right now is killing themselves. So it's, and again, this is, people talk about, what's going on and all. Yeah, there's COVID's real. Yes, people are passing from it. Yes, of course, right? Like, it's a disease. It's a virus. It's not like it gets in your body. It can jack stuff up. But at the same time, I think that the real damage to our country, speaking openly, has been done by the false fear that has been being installed, especially after talking to my doctor the other day. You saw my post. Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable how you look at the Spanish flu, the H1N1, and how much more excessively, hundreds of times worse than this. Country wasn't shut down. People, it didn't cause the financial destruction that this has caused. So makes you wonder, like, why, but at the same time, I've come to realize, hey, it's not in my control, but I feel like, hey, if you're experiencing fear, hey, create a vision board, right? Mm-hmm. Start, because here's the thing, this could be a blessing for you where, hey, I lost my job and shit, I wanted to start my own business anyway. Right? When you're not living in fear, you'll see opportunities in times that other people see crisis, where you close in and you close down and shut down. You'll see opportunities. Like, man, you'll see whatever you look for.
Yep.
Period.
You want to see. You
want to find. Yeah, you want to find. Negative about someone. You'll find it anywhere. If you want to see the good in someone, you'll see it, right? So however you're looking at something, if you're looking at someone thinking, oh, this is I don't like this person, but I'll go and listen to him, right? You're going to literally be so irritated sitting there, because no matter what they say, you're only going to pull out the stuff that's bad. Oh God, I can't this. I knew that this was going to happen, right? So it's literally a glass half full, glass half empty. But in this time, looking at this and say, man, what is good? Like take a minute, and it's simple, but write down the things how this is affecting your life in a positive way. The good things that you can, I call it the blessings and the curse. When I was younger, having ADD, thought it was a curse, thought I was stupid, thought I was not good in school. And it wasn't that. I just didn't give a shit. I wanted to go play sports, right? And it was like, I just didn't feel like it was important.
Want to talk the learning style for you, because I'm going to hallucinate that you're a kinesthetic learner, that you learn by doing, not by. Totally. So of course school would suck for you. Like, same with me. Like, I'm a doer, not a thinker. Like, so I would be the one asking the question. So I got, diagnosed with ADD or ADHD as well. And I was prescribed Ritalin. And my mom was like, he doesn't have a deficiency of Ritalin. Like, no, we're not. We're not giving him drugs, because that's not what's missing. Like, it's just she didn't know enough about learning styles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
She just knew that, like, as young boys, that also plays into, like, doing stuff and being active. Just sitting in a chair doing nothing. Creative minds don't do well in that. It's just a huge challenge. But one of the things you had shared too about the fear, I imagine there was a race coming up, right? So everybody's going to do this race, and we're driving gas-powered cars. Now, what would be the most effective fuel to put in the car? Would it be the high octane, like 94 octane, super high test fuel, or would it be the old dingy, like 82 octane that's been sitting around for 100 years? Which would be the better gas to put in the car?
Oh, the high octane.
Right. So all of these performers are fueling themselves with high octane, high vibration, energy, thoughts, beliefs, like, I can do this, I'm flexible, I have confidence, have love, have gratitude, have humor. And then all the people who are putting the crap gas in their car are acting out of fear, out of anger, out of frustration. And they're the ones who aren't getting results. They're falling behind, and they're blaming, and they're getting mad at the people who chose to put the high test in, because we all walked up to the same pump. We have it within. And the challenge is that so many people are getting addicted to that fear because it's giving them some short-term gain. It's giving them some short-term feel good. And it's also creating a tribe of other, look, misery loves company. So they're like, oh, F this guy, F that guy, screw this. It shouldn't be this way. Arg, arg, arg. Let's form a movement. And then it's all low energy, but at least they've got each other.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if you think about it, why does anyone want to succeed? Because they're going to get love. They're going to get all that. But why, if that's ultimately what we want, why bother working so hard when all you got to do is complain? And you get an illusion of love and connection because people be like, oh, yeah, that sucks too. Yeah, me too. Oh, man.
Well, great example, Doug. Like, this is a great example. You post something, right? And everyone knows this. So if you post something positive, I could post something really positive that could help a lot of people, right? Like something like this, right? Where we're sharing some great insight on how they can change their lives, how they can pull out of things. And, like you could post something great, get a few comments. You post about someone, and listen, I'm all for, you post about someone dying, about someone losing their job, about you getting a divorce, about that, you were in the hospital and suicidal, right? While I have compassion for that, why does all of that get so much attention?
Or F this politician, that politician.
F this guy.
And and then like,
Yeah. Dude, I posted I stay away from like posting political stuff, but I just had to, post what I heard about COVID the other day from my doctor. Mm-hmm. Man, it's insane. You can see clearly left, right. Yeah. Oh, this person that, and it's like, rather than, because I don't give a shit if you hate Trump or not, or you love Trump or not, right? It's like, just detach the emotion and say, okay, hey, this was a good move. Hey, that was a shitty move, right? And it's just, but it's so amazing how we're brainwashed and walking around and don't even know it.
Well, and the other thing that happens too is that the reticular activator system, right, is what you shared earlier, right? So what you look for, you'll find. Well, that's an algorithm. It's a built-in algorithm for our own survival, right? So that we can, we're looking for how to avoid pain and all of that. And it's not into the neurobiology of that. But when we look at the phone, the algorithms on Facebook are the same. So if you engage in negative stuff on Facebook, the Facebook gods go, oh, you're gonna stay online. If I put more of the stuff that you've just engaged in, we're going to target you. So if you go F this guy, screw that, oh, poor me, woe is me, all of that, and you get a lot of engagement, Facebook will put that more in your feed because Facebook wants you on their platform. If you engage in positive stuff and all that, you'll see more of that in your feed and less of the negativity. But here's what's happening. And again, this is just hyperbole now. I'm just making this up. I wonder if part of the way we're being influenced is by these algorithms maybe being influenced to put more negative stuff in people's feeds and bury some of the positive stuff so that it keeps people just in general lodged on, because the most positive person in the world still could get sucked into some drama. Totally. But the most negative person in the world very rarely gets sucked into happiness on there.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, it's totally true, man. Yeah, no, absolutely. and I think too, even it's like everything is perception, right? So I think if we all looked and said, okay, I have this situation in my life. How can you tell me, DJ, that something positive can come of this? It can, right? You're choosing to not look for something good in what's happened. You give me any situation, someone died, someone overdosed and came back from it. They can use that as a platform now to tell their story and help other people in drugs and alcohol. Like you can take anything and find something good in it. In our mind, that Doug, who Jesse Itzler is. Yeah. So I love Jess. And I heard him talking the other day about this guy came to his house and was like, hey, we're getting stuck at 35 miles. We got to go 100. They're training for this 100-mile thing. I don't know if you saw that, but he basically said this guy came to his house and his buddies that night, they're like, hey, the guy came, right? He's going to help you guys go to the next level. And he's like, what he's done? And Jesse's like, nothing. He's done nothing, right? Like he's been here days just like watching us, looking at us, arms are crossed, and he's done nothing, right? And so the next day he goes, hey, meet me down here in the morning. And he told them, he said, this is what we're going to do today. Okay, when you're training, is you're going to break your record. You're going to break it. And here's how you're going to do it. Nothing negative is going to come out of your mouth. Number one, nothing. Every loop, meaning every mile, you're going to tell me something that you're grateful for. Okay. And on top of that, every so often, I forget if it was every 3 minutes or whatever. And it was so impactful. I literally have this sitting on my desk right here, right? You can see it. And it's a saying, and it says, it's magic. It's magical. I never get tired. Right. So he said, it's magical with energy. Right. Yep. It's magical. I never get tired. And he said, by doing this, the guy Jesse was training with, his buddy, broke his record. Right. He doubled his other production. They were getting stuck for weeks on end at 35 miles. They're like, we're done. We can't go any farther, and literally from just the self-talk of that's playing in their mind, how powerful that was. And Jesse said it at 50 years old. He said it changed my life at 50 to realize how the words we say to ourselves like impact us, and they stop us, and they put caps on us. And so anyways, it was a really cool thing to just hear him say how literally in one day, right? How can you take somebody that and literally have them, double their personal best?
It's insane, the power of that. I mean, I remember, and again, it cuts to the people you hang with. Like, so that person put himself in that environment to get that coaching, to get that feedback. I remember hanging out with a friend of mine. We were part of this men's group called Ego. And if you lived here, you'd be definitely a part of it. It's this, the Elite Gentlemen's Organization. And it's 6 of us. We're all just, great guys, all really successful, go-getters, entrepreneurs, business owners. And one of them we were hanging out with, we were out to dinner, and I just had a bad deal, real estate deal. I got, the short story is the title company got hacked and sent an email, and because of a deadline and all this, I ended up sending $10K to the wrong account, and I lost the money. And so I was sharing what happened. I was like, yeah, I'm just, I just fell victim to, an email fraud. And he's like, you're not a victim. He's like, take responsibility. You made a mistake. Like, could you have avoided it? I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I could have, I would have. Yeah. Well, yeah, I could have. I allowed the time frame, the pressure and all that in the rush to get it done. I did not do it. I knew I should have done. And if anyone's a victim of something, it's me, of a victim of me, not the email fraud. But it was just so interesting where that friend could call me on it and be like, don't play the victim. You made a mistake, but you're not a victim. And in there, it's like, yeah, personal responsibility. I can choose to feel like a victim or choose to learn something.
Yeah.
Aha. And then go, I'm not going to do this again. And now, not only will I never make that mistake, I will be sure no one in my world makes that mistake because I learned a $10,000 lesson.
Yeah. Oh, totally, man. Yeah. And having, you had said something, having those people around you, hey, and it's not even that, it's not, I say this all the time. It's not that the words we say, right? Because it's not our thoughts. We all have so many thoughts come through our head. Some are destructive, some aren't healthy, some are, evil, whatever. But it's when, the damage comes, what I've learned is the damage comes when I believe it.
Right.
When I have a thought, and Tony Robbins talks about this. You look at you worked with him for years. Mm-hmm. You look at this thought as a cloud, right? And just going by and God, look at that is not my thought. How the heck did that get in there? Right. Yep. And you have to do these things. I like literally understanding that you can shift your mind. Like I played, Frank Thomas is?
No.
Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best home run hitters. I think he's number 5 or 6 or something like that on the all-time home run list.
Wow.
Hall of Famer, played for the White Sox, big dude. They called him the Big Hurt. So Frank Thomas.
That I remember.
Yeah. So Frank Thomas told me, he says, DJ, when I was playing, he said I used to do something, and it's the first time I heard someone say this. So he said, you know what made me great was I never gave the pitcher never got me out. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, if they struck me out, I would go back to the dugout and I would say, like, it would be my fault, right? Like, I got myself out. Anytime I struck out, flew out, something, it was me. I got myself out. And by doing that, and this is brilliant when he told me this, it was like mind bomb. He said, I would twist it in my mind to where I got myself out. He didn't beat me. I beat myself. Yeah. So whereas and I started thinking about that going, wow, that is so brilliant, right? Like when you go back and go, man, I got myself out on that. I shouldn't have swung at that pitch, but that I'm not getting myself out next time, right? And where he would spin it to where it was like, this guy's not better. If you did it the other way, like, man, he's nasty today. He's throwing right anything he wants. He's throwing. Man, this is gonna be a long day. And you start playing that in your head. Now you're 0 for 4 really quickly.
Yep.
Right. So those little things, that we can do as people to literally shift our perception on how we're looking and viewing something, where now we're empowered instead of disempowered.
Love it. I mean, and that's so important, that personal responsibility, because that's where I think where a lot of the gaps in this world are lying right now, especially sadly in America, is it seems like there's a lot less personal responsibility and a lot of blaming. And that, to your point, if he didn't go, hey, you know what, I'm going to take responsibility. I got myself out. Now at least I can learn from it. Otherwise, I go in, if I go, the pitcher's on fire. He's crushing it today. I'm lost before walking up. And so many people right now are losing the game. Like I would use the example of, like, imagine your favorite team, and it's similar to what you're talking about, like your favorite team before the championship game, and the coach comes out to the team and he's like, this game is going to suck. Man, we are going to lose. We're going to lose hard. It's going to be long and painful. Man, if we weren't contractually obligated to play this freaking game, I would say let's forfeit. All right, let's go get him. Like, the game is already lost. How could, but now that's obviously an exaggeration, but imagine how some people show up to their day. They wake up and like, oh, great, what new hell is going to be opening up for me today? And then wondering why they're having a crap day. And then go, it's so-and-so's fault. It's the government's fault. It's COVID's fault. It's, it's Doug's fault, whatever, and then they say, and here's the worst thing. They'll listen to this and they'll try it half-assed and go, this doesn't work. Those guys are full of crap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, I tell people all the time, anything you try doesn't work.
Yep.
You've got to commit.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that it works is you got to commit and just stay and commit and do the work.
Right.
Right. And have the right mindset and have gratitude and be happy and just focus on I call it income producing activities, and focus on the activities. Right. So you can look back and go, like some people, I lost this job and that happened. And it's like, man, you've been wanting to start your own business for 20 years. Right. Look at that as the opportunity in this good. And people, like, again, listen, there's a lot of people that lost their jobs. Obviously, it's a sensitive subject. I totally understand it's out of your control. But what's in your control is where do I go now? How quick? Mm-hmm. Hey, everyone listen, if you think you're going to be champion of the world and meaning successful and not get punched in the face, you're delusional.
Yep.
right? So knowing, hey, I'm going to get punched in the face. It's how quick do I jump back up, right? How quick can I overcome that batted bat? And I think the ability, even my wife says to me sometimes, like, man, you have this ability, which she doesn't know if it's good or bad sometimes, right? But it's like to literally detach feelings and not feel, right? And probably, like, I think that I've acquired that over time because when I was young, right, and I did play ball and I would strike out, fucking smash the bat, throw the helmet, right, and just like and I spent so much energy, Doug, and so much time being pissed off that I realized, like, man, that's not serving me, right? I've gotta detach and learn to control my emotions better. So sometimes, like, handling things, some people might see and go, how can they go through that, or how can they do that and then act like everything's okay, right? You have to. Otherwise, you get sucked into just, I mean, you go into a bad place, man. And, what do you think about that?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, growing up, I didn't play sports, but I was a reject. I was an outcast. I only had two emotions. I was pissed off or depressed. And, like, I would go and try and, be friends with somebody or whatever. And stoner, dirtbag, all that. And I just felt rejected all the time. And like, it took me out, and I get it. It's what got me into drugs and stuff at a young age. And finally I got sick of it. And I'm like, look, I need to learn how to manage my state. And it's okay. Yeah. Like, it's one thing to be having a moment of getting pissed off. Like, I'm not suggesting never feel anything.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You got to feel it and acknowledge it, but then start asking better questions. Like, okay, and part of my ritual and the things that I do and I coach on is, like, I ask myself, well, what do I need to believe in order to feel this way? If I'm pissed off, what meaning did I just give whatever is going on? And is that true? Is that really what is happening? And what else could it mean? What else is going on here? Or, what am I focusing on to feel this way? What other opportunities are available to me to do that, to do whatever my outcome is and get clear? And the other thing is, sometimes what we don't do is we're so unconscious and unaware that we're not even thinking about what is the right state to be in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, so we don't just consciously go, you know what, I should be confident right now, or I should be open right now, or curious right now. Like, confidence without curiosity can be very dangerous because you could double down on the wrong strategy.
True.
So, like what you shared, like so let's say when COVID first hit and you got some type A people like, all right, that's it, I'm getting freaking confident, let's do it. And they just do more of what wasn't working. Right. But you said, wait a minute. All right, I got my confidence. Let me get curious. What are some other things I could do to help people? And once, like you shared earlier about the taking action, what are the income producing or the results producing or the whatever your outcome is, activities that one could be doing? Well, then you focus on that, and then you start building confidence through achieving, even if they're small results. I mean, heck, I started this podcast, and it started out like because I wanted to help people and all of that. I have like over 60 episodes I've already done. Like, wow. Like what? And it just happened like that. It was just like did one, and then so I just keep the flow going, and it feels good. But more importantly, hopefully, it's helping people. But it's hard to be pissed off and angry at the world when you're serving, when you're adding value, and you're like, hey, look, this isn't making any money right now, but it is making a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and it keeps you, it like gives you something to look forward to, right? Hey, I got a show today at this time. I got a show at this time, and you get off, and you it's like, man, I've got this energy, and it's vibing. Like, even my office. I don't know if you're this way, but I learned this from. I didn't learn it from them, but it was reinforced by Steve Harvey. So he said, I saw him a couple years ago talking, and he said, your vision, like everything around you should vibrate what you're doing, right? That's why I've got like the 10X towel, right? Mm-hmm. Right here. I've got me with Grant, me with Damon, John, books, baseballs. I got 3 baseballs over here. You know who they are? Dude, they're not people that never made it or played for a year or were shitty. I've got Stan Musial, Matt Williams, and Barry Bonds, right?
Wow.
Like some of the best. So everything around me, Tribe of Mentors book by Tim Ferriss, you know, like everything around me is, I want to subconsciously prime me that if I'm looking at something, I don't want it to be a picture of childhood that was a bad memory, right? That's gonna, it's just like, you know, I used to keep a picture of my mom, right? And who was my hero and stuff. But ultimately, it's like, I want to vibrate future. I want to vibrate like the things that you want, have them around you. And a lot of times people are just, it's low EQ, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, they're not living in awareness like, oh, I should change what's around me. I've got this picture I look at. I've got that from my dad who, you know, I didn't have a relationship with and it wasn't healthy, that I see every single day, right? And they wonder why they feel like shit or they have low energy, because you're literally, it's your surroundings, you know? So I think that can help people too, is to change, you know, start realizing, being conscious of that, hey, I want to change what I'm looking at all day long, what's around me, what's vibrating, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well, and it goes even to the core of feng shui, where it
Totally.
actually does. I mean, it doesn't. You don't have to necessarily be worried about which, you know, way your bed is facing and
the crown of your head.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I mean, if you don't,
I have tried that before. Yeah, I'm thinking, shit, man, it can't hurt, right? You know, like I might as well give it a swing, man.
Totally. Well, I mean, Jim Rohn talked about that. He was like, an apple a day. Well, it can't hurt.
Exactly.
You know, and he's like, the doctor never came, so I guess it worked.
Yeah.
So let's shift a little bit to, like, as you were sharing and you had that vision to work with Grant. I mean, for me, it was working with Tony, and you know, we have different relationships, like, you know, what you're doing with Grant, what I did with Tony. So it's a little bit different, but you know, my music career and all that, we have similar applications. How did you get into the situation that you're in? What was the pathway to make that happen?
I think you know, this is funny. So when I first met Gray, interacted. So we were at the 10X Grow conference, not this last one, but the one before in Miami, right? And I had my new hats, my Game Changer hats.
That's right before we met.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was after we met. We had already met, and you had talked about how that's what you were going to be doing. You had the hats with you at James's thing, if I recall.
Yeah. So I go there, right? And I go to this event, and this goes back to what you're saying, the power of going and being around like-minded people, going to events, investing in events. So I go, invested some money, had a great seat. First lunch break, I sit at this table with a guy and his wife, looked at his watch. I'm like, dude, that's a dope watch, man. They have matching watches. I'm like, that's sweet, man. And I love your watch. He goes, hey, thanks, man. So what's your name? DJ, what's your name? Brandon Dawson, who now is Grant's partner with Cardone Ventures, right? Wow. And very successful business guy. So he and I became friends, and Nat, his wife, you know, spent a lot of time throughout the event, you know, breaks, things like that, chatting, and had no idea like who he was, what he did, didn't care. And so, but ultimately, so this is great, right? I think that this goes to show you guys that when an opportunity, when you set your mind to something, when you set your vision to something, sometimes you have to make your own door. Yeah. Right. And so I'm big on like creating your opportunity. So this is a true story. So I'm sitting there. I've got my Gucci backpack, which I got right here actually. I got my backpack with my hats, and the event's over. They're having an after party thing behind the stage, and I'm talking to my son. I'm standing off to the side talking to my son on the phone, and Grant walks out, right? And all these people around him, right, taking pictures and doing all this, right? So what I did was, I told my son, I said, hey, Grant's out here. I'm gonna go meet him. I gotta go, right? I hang up with my son. And my son will attest to it. Hang up with my son. I got a hat or two of my hats. And I literally put them in my hand, take them out of my bag, walk around. So Grant's walking in front of this stage. It's hip hop, artist is playing, the crowd's going crazy, right? All this, and he just swarmed by people. So he walks up to this table in the front, and it's someone, you know, a family member or someone like this, and he's talking to them, and they give him a hug. I walk around everybody, walk around the table, and right up in front, right up to him where nobody was. Everyone was behind him, right? So I went around, took a different route, and walked right up to him, and I was standing there, and basically he stops talking, he looks up, and I said, "Hey, Grant, my name's DJ." I said, I really connect with you, man. You know, I grew up without a dad. You know, I got a chance to play professional baseball, and I just wanted to give you a couple of my hats as a gift to you, and just say, hey, man, you're a big inspiration, and I really like what you're doing. He goes, he was shocked, right? And so it's kind of like Malinchek says, you approach him with the handkerchief. You do something for them. You give some. I didn't ask him right, but here's what ensued. So I give him a couple of my hats, which, by the way, is GC.
Yeah, I know. I got it.
I saw his brain go, oh, you trademarked that? Yeah. So anyways, but the cool thing was he's like, hey, man, that's really awesome. You know, what's your name? I said, DJ. He goes, hey, man, great to meet you. And he literally took my phone and literally was taking pictures of me and him, right? Where all these people were taking pictures. Cool. And that's this right here. That's his picture. Yeah. So he's holding my phone in his hand, right? So it's stuff like that where I think sometimes when opportunity presents itself, that you have to be ready to, you got to be meant right in the vibration. You got to be ready to make that to basically what do you call it? Make your door, right? Hey, I'm gonna go meet them, and it's funny, like sometimes people will see a celebrity, and I do this naturally now, Doug. There was my son and I were in Beverly Hills, so basically that's how I met Grant, and since then, you know, to finish that up, I got a chance to speak with him on stage at the Impact Players Tour in Arizona last year. Got to know him and Elena, and Bobby Awad, who is, you know, a really close friend of mine, is Elena's best friend. So it's like, again, right? It's just this weave of you attract what you are. You're gonna, whatever your vibration is, whatever you're putting out. And if you're nervous to talk to people, if you don't want to go to an event because, you know, I don't need that, and, you know, I don't, man, you're thinking too small, man.
Well, so yeah, and let me taking that a step further. When you were walking up to Grant, now it's one thing to have your belief in yourself, right? So there's step one, like, hey, you know, I'm gonna make my own door and blah blah blah, that stuff. What was your belief about Grant? Like, what were you putting out there as far as how you'd be received, or did you even have any of that? You know, any thoughts about that?
No, it was just like, hey, talking to my son, hey, bud, I got to run. I'm going to go meet Grant. Like,
so you weren't, right. You weren't putting him on a pedestal per se and thinking, oh, he's not going to want to talk to me, or he's too busy, or he's too whatever. There's going to be a million other people, and I'm going to be annoying to him and all that. And
exactly. No.
So I want to, like, that just to help people kind of really get, because I do that too all the time. Like, I'll go talk to anybody. Like, I just love people. And, you know, I'll meet somebody, like, you know, like I do with Grant, and I'd be the guy who goes, hey, what are you doing later? Do you want to go to dinner? Right. And of course he may be like, no way. But my belief is that he's a normal person that has to eat, and he may not have dinner plans. So he'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah, let's do it. Like, you know, or if he doesn't do it that time, like, no, but you know what? I'm available next Wednesday. Are you in town? Let's do it.
I get a great example. My son and I were in Beverly Hills on Rodeo. This is last year, and we see. I'm talking to a lady that works with me, and I'm like, my son goes, "Hey, Dad, look, there's Draymond Green. You know, plays for the Golden State Warriors." And I'm like, "Gotta go, Devin. Swear to God, this is how quick it was. Devin, take my phone." Right? He's walking across the street. Everyone's like, right, pointing and not saying nothing. dude, I walked right up to him. I'm like, hey, Draymond, my name's DJ. I played some ball in the Bay Area with the Giants way back in the day. And I just want to say, man, I love what you're doing. I love your game. I'm a big fan. And just wanted to wish you, the best of luck. And he's like, hey, man, thanks. I appreciate that. I said, do you mind if I get a picture with you? He's like, no, that'd be no problem, right? And it took a nice picture with him. But ultimately, that kind of thing, right, is that understanding that that happens with not just people, but people self-sabotage. Well, I don't know. I don't want to bother them.
Right.
Right. If you believe you're bothering them, that's a self-limiting belief. That's your problem.
Yep.
Right. Because I don't think that I'm bothering them. I'm just saying hi to someone that I respect and I like. I mean,
and the one thing I love that about you. The one thing that I wish I was better at is asking for the picture. That's the one thing I don't do. I've hung with so many people, and the other day I was at an event and Evander Holyfield was there. So I was like, hey, champ, what's going on? And we're just talking and stuff. And then I'm like, we're done talking. We just chilled, right?
Yeah.
Talked for a few minutes, and I never got the picture. And then I was like it just got bogged down. And then I'm like, screw it. I'm going to go find him and get that picture. I got enough. Let me just go get a picture. I got to be better at that. And he'd already left the party. But, I just thanks for the inspiration. Because by the way, one of the things, and we have these conversations and I do this show, I'm talking to me. I'm asking questions that I genuinely want to know as well. Because I'm always looking to up my game. And there's always something that I can learn from somebody. And while I'm learning, hopefully others will as well. But man, I wish I got more pictures with people.
You know what James says, right? Malinchek. How does he put it, Doug? Approach them with the handkerchief?
Yeah, what was the...
To where you're doing something, right? Everyone wants something from people, right?
Yep.
Hey,
do something for them.
Another great example, right here. You see this picture with Damon John?
Yep.
People are like, dude, how did you get him to hold your hats up? I didn't.
It to him. It is.
Right? I'm literally standing in line waiting, right? Because I bought his course, whatever. Okay, we're going to get a picture with Dame. And he's got, a few daughters, right? So I looked the names up of his daughters and saw how many he had. And I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and one for his wife or whatever, right? So I stacked 4 hats, put them in my hand, got my backpack, get up there. Guy's like, hey man, you can't pitch him. If you're gonna pitch him, you can't pitch him with that. He thought I was gonna pitch him with some memorabilia. I said, no man, I want to give these to him and his daughters, and I named his daughters, right? Yeah. And he's like, oh, okay, right? And dude, I'm thinking, because he was like, hey, well, can you go and give him to this guy over here, right? And literally, Doug, at that moment, I'm thinking, no way, right? I'm giving them to him.
Yeah.
At that moment, Dame says, hey, I said, hey, I literally stepped in front of this guy and I'm like, hey, Damon, I just wanted to give these as a gift to you and your kids. And he's like, oh, bring him here, man. And he looked at my hats. He's like, dude, these are dope, right? And looked at them and everything and didn't even ask him, and he held them there, right? And so, but giving, right? Giving first. And so many people now on social media, I call it slinging their shit, right? Everybody wants to sling their shit. Everybody wants someone's attention. Everybody, I get so many messages a day. Hey, sweetie. Hey, dude. Hey, DJ. We want to sell you, trying to sell me something. Instagram growth or this or that, right? And it's like, dude, why don't you get to know? Nobody, everyone's got it backwards, right? And that's why it's so easy to win today is all you got to do is, and if someone looked me up, I have people ask me, I have a team that DMs people for leads, and I have people ask me, oh, are you a real estate investor? I'm like, did you not look at my damn profile? You know what I mean? And it's so easy. All you got to do is look at someone, take 30 seconds, and then message them something about if someone met me, hey, DJ, I'm a huge Giants fan, man. I love that you played with the Giants. I have a marketing company and I'd like to give you, something, right? But just acknowledge me, acknowledge what I do.
They've done some research and they know who you are, who they're talking to. Not
approach me differently. And I think that's how talking about business or getting more business or building a business, looking at, I've always done this, and Jesse Itzler put it perfect. What's your brownie? What's your, on a floor of white marble, you have to be the black square.
Yep.
Where you stand out, or the black circle, right? Where everyone's the same. And it's like, what makes you different? What makes you, everyone has this. Everyone is a real estate agent. Everyone is this. What makes you unique, and what makes you different, right? Yep. And I think if people could look at from that standpoint and look how they can add value to people in ways that other people aren't, it makes it easy to win.
So true. And unfortunately, I think, again, it goes back to the mindset that people get overwhelmed. And I'm guilty of it too, seeing.
Oh, yeah, we all are.
So much stuff. And you go, man, how do I find a way to stand out? And then, now is everybody doing the, hey, let's get to know you thing. But I do believe that, it is a relationship business, right? It's about building relationships. And the one thing, I guess, and I don't know if I'm the only one who sometimes has this challenge, and, full disclosure, I don't usually take advantage of my relationship capital. Like, I have friends, I have people. Like, how did you find yourself after you started to develop a relationship? I don't know whether business came before any friendship, but like, where do you draw that line as you build relationships? And then you're like, oh man, now I want to like it's almost like going from the friend zone with a girl into relationship zone. I kind of feel that way in business. Like, okay, I'm friends with you. I don't know if I want to then now if I go into business, is that going to change? Like, how have you navigated that? Because I think that's a common challenge.
I think you're like me, right? So if you're a people person, most of us genuinely love to help people. Right. You'd agree with me on that. Mm-hmm. So, or like we get more joy out of giving than receiving a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to that, unless I'm with my wife, no, I'm just kidding. I had to throw it. It was on my mind, man. I couldn't get it out. But yeah, exactly. But no, like even for example with Grant, right? We were talking about big baseball guy, right? So when I had him on my show and podcast, and he came in, we chatted and stuff, and last year, and I had on the counter something that I gave him that I knew would mean a lot to him, and he would never forget it. Which was, and so I started off the interview. If you watch it, I literally, and I didn't do it in any, like I did it out of just the genuineness of my heart because I wanted to. I didn't do it because I wanted something back. I think that's the big thing, right? Is when you give without anticipating doing it for any hidden agenda. Like do it because it's cool, and you think, hey, this person would really like this. So I had a ball by Billy Martin, who's the all-time, right, kicking, ranting, the original pick up the bases, throw, spit on the umpire, kick the dirt on him for the Yankees, right? Hall of Fame manager. So my mom, when we were young, brought this baseball home, and she's like, hey, this guy, because she bartended at night, she worked 2 jobs to support us. So she brought this baseball home signed, and we're like, cool, brand new baseball. Dude, we never had a brand new baseball to play catch with, right? Yeah. My brother and I are playing catch. It's got, some, and so anyway, so then when we're watching TV one day, and my brother goes, DJ, man, that's the guy. It was Billy Martin, right? We didn't know. My mom was just like, he's probably trying to, my mom was hot, man. I know he wanted some, but like, that was right. Signed it. My kids that love baseball. She didn't know who he was. Gets his baseball, brings it home, Billy Martin. So I told Grant, say, hey, my mom, was my hero, worked her whole life, passed away at 62 after retiring. 30 days later, she passed. So it was unfortunate, but she just meant so much, and she inspired me in so many things. And I said to Grant, hey, because you inspire me in so many ways, I want to pass this torch and pass this gift onto you, right? So anyways, and it meant a lot to him and things, but never forget that. right?
Mhm.
And then for his birthday, I just got him I had a Hank Aaron ball that I sent off to him.
Wow.
And just say, hey, but those are things that I don't do it because like I do that stuff for, my son, for my brother, for
Right.
clients, right? Or just somebody, hey man, I know you're a big, Madison Bumgarner fan. I got this autographed bat and I thought you'd enjoy it more than I would, right? Like just sowing seeds and doing and giving to people without asking or wanting anything in return. People will be amazed at how much more comes back to them from that person, and not even maybe that person, but from other people, right?
Well, right. It's not direct reciprocity where you're like, I gave to you, you give to me. It's that you create that energy, and the more you give, the more open your hands are to receive.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. So I think, if people were to take something away, say there's a lot of people now that are building businesses online, and they're, getting it through social media, DMing, contacting people. I think those of you listening to this, if you're doing that, the best way to get in with somebody is to do something for them first. Stop. Dude, I get so many messages. I just delete them. Like I get so many, Doug, if you add up my LinkedIn, my Instagram, if someone is pitching me something, I don't know, so I just delete. I don't even read them anymore, right? So like.
Well, and from that point, like, and this may or may not be instructive for some, is because of what's going on, could the gift be, or does a radar go up for you and said, hey, DJ, I see what you're doing. I got this this report on the 3 steps, to maximizing your SEO or something like that. Do you see that? Is that like a red flag for you? You're like, oh, this is just another strategy, or do you take the time?
Well, if it's something that I think the key in doing it is having it be something that they would genuinely be cool, that someone else would never do for me, right? And it could be like if someone approached me and said, hey man, I got this guy sent me all my baseball cards I ever had, and this is like a few weeks ago, asked me to sign him because he's trying to get in the Guinness Book of World Records for most autographed baseball cards ever in the world. So I signed him, right? Sent him to him. Dude, I get a postcard. I literally kept it. It's somewhere in here. I get a postcard back from him, Doug, thanking me, handwritten, right? And I'm just like, unbelievable, right? Like, who does that anymore? So those little things where, like, if this dude said, DJ, I remember you signed some balls for me. I'd say, I instantly would remember it. Right? Hey, could you sign something for my daughter? Yeah, what do you want? Hey, could I ask you for a favor? Yes, absolutely, man. How can I help you? Right? Because he genuinely did something that was really cool for me.
Right.
So I think it's more than just giving someone a swipe download file or something.
Right.
I think it's more. I think it's got to be more like something that is in line with them.
It's personalized.
Personalized.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like a personalized, hey man, I got this Moise Salou, signed hat, and I'm not really a Giants fan, and I know you are. I thought you'd get more joy out of it, so I wanted to send this to you. Right. Things like that, like especially if you have things around that you're not attached to, or they don't mean a lot to you, but you can find people that you want to connect with, and it's an easy slam dunk way to get into that interpersonal relationship with people, I think.
And thank you, because one of the things that I think people also forget is that while a lot of important people have gatekeepers, they are still accessible. Like you can still find a way to get in touch, and it may require a little more effort. Because there are insulators involved, like you shared, but you find a way to do it. Like, okay, might be tough to walk into, well, maybe not even with Grant's office, but there may be some places, some businesses, some events, some things that will be tough to get to somebody. But that's why you invest in sitting up front. That's why you go to the VIP party. That's why, and
Toma.
what's that?
TOMA, top of mind awareness.
Top of mind awareness. Yeah. So that you can, but then you have to take action while you're there.
True.
Like it's one thing to be there. It's another thing to do something while you're there. Because I think, unfortunately, there are also some people who just like to say, oh, I was at that, that VIP party and they were there. And it's another thing to go, yeah, I sat there and I brought them something. I actually was very thoughtful, and they felt that it was more than just for them, someone trolling and wanting to just, kind of have that moment, that they actually took the time to understand who I am.
Yeah. Totally, man.
No, game changer. No pun intended.
What's that?
Is a game changer. No pun intended.
It's a game changer, man. Yeah. And the more that you, we all love giving, right? So the more that you do that and you get into the habit of, especially right now, if you're building a business, like it's so easy online. I used to knock on doors, dude, like knock on doors, selling security systems. So I'm cut from that cloth. Now you can knock on doors using social media DMing. The problem is people use it. It's almost like not abrasive, but it's like knocking on someone's door that has a no soliciting sign, right? So like where you're like, okay, the person doesn't want to be bothered or whatever. But again, right, you can think, well, how can I approach people that are high level that I would love to have as clients? What can I do differently that others aren't willing to, that would get me in to at least have a conversation with them, right? Yeah. And I think just looking at it from that standpoint, what can I do that would be of value, and looking at their social feeds and what they're into and what they're about, and then hey, interact with them. Right.
It's a pre-engagement research. Learn a little bit about the person, not just, go like I get those all the time too. Oh, I went to your account and I love your site, love your page. We help people grow their Instagram or their Facebook or their LinkedIn or whatever. When do you want to call? I'm like,
yeah. You're like, bitch, I don't know you.
Yeah. And it's bold. I get it. Like I get sometimes, because, owning properties, I get, that you could do the skip traces, and I'll get like random calls like, hey, how's it going? Like as if they know me. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm like, do I know you? Like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, well, no, I saw you had a property and I was wondering if you wanted to sell it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, it's true, man. And it's so like, I firmly believe right now, right, while other people, I always believe like we're in the best. It's like the pastor. 5 p.m. service is my favorite. Hey, you're the 10 a.m. service. You guys were my favorite, right? They tell everyone they're their favorite. But I think that's how it is, right? It's so like if you guys that are listening to this, no matter what you're doing, right? Life, obviously mindset first. You got to work on your mindset. You've got to really shape and be conscious of what you're listening to and what you're believing. And I just feel like in a time right now when there's so much opportunity and it's so easy to win if you just do the things that other people aren't willing to do. Like I had a lady the other day that made me a video, Irene, and sent it to me. Was like, hey, DJ, you were awesome. You gave us some instructions, some information. You took time on your Saturday to speak to us. And I just wanted to send this to you. I took some clips off of your interview and I sent you a video about it, right? Nice. Like who does that? You know what I mean?
Irene does.
Irene does, right? But that's what I'm talking about. Yep. Is that kind of thing, to where you're literally, it's so easy to win these days. But again, like Malinchek said, you got to approach people with the napkin, or like the servant, right?
Yeah.
You got to approach people like that and do something for them. And they'll feel inclined to do something back for you.
Absolutely. Well, So as we're discussing, we haven't really gotten into kind of what you're doing in any depth. Like, what's going on with you? How are you? Like, what's the value add with your fortune builders and the game changing stuff you're doing? What you got brewing, and how do people like work with you and benefit? Like, what are your programs? What is your product? And how can people be part of what you're doing?
Yeah. So with Fortune Foreclosures, I started Fortune Foreclosures investing. Fortune Builder is a big training system.
Right. Yeah, I got confused. I was
yeah, but I started Fortune Foreclosures back in '05. Well, I started formally in 2007. Formed the LLC, but I was doing it in end of '05. Started in end of '05, so 15 years. So I basically, Doug, long story short, carved a niche, getting out of state, low cost, low risk investments for people, handling all the heavy lifting. So we get them the property, get utilities on, help them with whatever they need, getting it fixed, getting it rented, like we're here for them and help them with all of that. So they have less time. So they're low risk, right? As low as 40, 50,000. We can get people into deals now for 15 to 20K. Wow. But essentially, low cost, low risk, out of state deals done for you. And so I started doing that. That business took off, exploded. I've grown and scaled that. And then about 2 years ago, I saw a need. A lot of people were wholesaling and trying to wholesale or doing things, but they were doing it backwards. So I was like, man, this niche that I created, the way I do my deals, no one was doing them that way. So I created, again, it's like, instead of putting the quarter in the machine, right, the arcade machine up top, I go in from the bottom, flip the penny up, it hits the same thing. So right. Again, looking at it backwards. So I created a way to flip properties, not use my own money, make my profits up front, and you have them in 2 to 3 days. So it's very unique. It didn't exist. No one was doing it. Well, at the time, now I look back and go, well, shit, man, I've been doing this over a decade, right? And no one was doing their deals this way. No one was teaching how to do deals this way. And so I finally decided, after a lot of years and a lot of success, that I was going to roll out my own signature program called Flipping on Demand. And I rolled that out last year. And it's just been a game changer, man, where people have come in that were trying to wholesale, trying to do things. And, what I did that was really cool was that I was able to look at other courses, programs, things that I spoke at a lot of events over the years, and I got to see their landmines, right? Like, oh, they can never talk to the CEO. I'm going to, so people can communicate with me personally. Okay, I'm going to add that. So I created a not just a program, right, but what we call a brand partnership. So they come in, we give them a co-branded website with, celebrities on it, endorsements, improvements. Like, we give them things they would never be able to afford, right? For super cheap. And I do that, and we help them with their sales. We help them get properties. I teach them how to do everything on their own. But until they get up and able to do everything on their own, we say, hey, we're going to fish with you, right? All you got to do is cast a line, cast it where we tell you, when we tell you, let a thing sink. When it bites, hand it to us. We'll reel it in, and we'll eat the fish. We split it, right? So as they're learning how to do everything on their own, they get to work with my sales team to help them sell and close deals, right? When they're not at the level of doing it themselves, they get to work with my acquisitions team to help get deals. So until they're skilled up on getting their own deals. So it's almost like they have their own company without having the overhead and the office and the employees and all of that. So it's really cool. The mindset stuff we pour into them, the mentorship, the transformation, is teaching them good habits, teaching them how to do it, teaching them the things that I learned from Marshall: vision board, perfect day, routine, habits. Yep. And so teaching them that and the stuff that they're not getting in other places, I think has been the big thing and the big shift. So people that, if they're wholesaling or investing in real estate, am moving things over to my main website, which is djthielenlive.com, DJTHIELEN live, live.com, and they can go there, and that's kind of going to developing into the one-stop hub where it's got all of our different things that we do and companies, and it's going to have our apparel on there here shortly and things like that.
Awesome.
So they can go there and literally the instructions, whatever they're looking to do. Anyone that's in real estate that's wanting to do more, no matter if they're wanting to buy, invest, flip, wholesale, like that's our niche. That's where we can help people. Is really go to the next level.
So how are you marketing it? How could I help you? What are some resources that would be valuable? Are you going into RIAs? Are you going into wholesaling groups, investor groups? Like, what is the best way to get your opportunities and exposure?
For the investors, we a lot of repeat buyers, and obviously we have we have our Academy members that may have a buyer, but they have no idea how to get a deal, sell them a deal, close a deal, do the docs. Right, we'll say, hey, that's cool. You got an investor. Let him talk to my team. My team will get him ready. We'll go get him a deal. We'll close it for you and with you, and we'll split the profits. Right. So we make 20 grand. You get half. We get half. They're like, sweet. Right. So and they're learning how to do it themselves at the same time.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, we do some a lot of word of mouth. A lot of Academy members that bring investors in that we help close deals for and with. And then really just marketing. My assistant, Rona Angelis, markets in Facebook groups, like wholesale groups. Mm-hmm. People, hey, and we just get on the phone, have a conversation with them. And, hey, where are you at? Where are you wanting to get to? We can help you. Do you want some help? And then, we share with them, how we can help them and the investment and things like that.
Awesome. Well, yeah. I'm going to make some connections for you. I don't know if they'll be valuable. They're not necessarily competitors, but they're great people. And if nothing else, there'll be I'm sure some good friendships, but you never know like where the crossovers are because they're plugged into, the different worlds. Cause, my main worlds are, personal development, music, and real estate. So, anything I can do to support you, of course, is my privilege.
I appreciate it, buddy. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on, man. I love this. I mean, dude, we're so, I mean, these are things that, what's cool about this, Doug, is that, like, these are things you and I never chopped up before, right. just literally, on the fly, talking about things, life struggles, challenges. Yeah, man, it's cool. I like it. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, dude, thank you. And you're of course, if you have anything going on, welcome back. Let's have you come on and say, hey, I got this, if you got a book or an event coming up, let's, be sure that we're getting people aware, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing is we got to raise people's vibration, their consciousness so that everyone realizes there are opportunities and that, there's support out there and there's plenty of people who are willing to share their wisdom and knowledge to help people get to the next level because that's how we're going to change the world for the better.
Absolutely.
The world is changing and parts of it aren't, may not be for the better at the moment. So
yeah,
anything we can do to turn the tide.
Absolutely, buddy. No, sounds great, man.
Well, dude, I love you for who you are and who you aren't. And any final words, any last plug that you want to do before we sign off? So people.
You know what? I'm a big. I've been saying this for years, and I heard it somewhere the other day. Someone did a video. It might have been Gary Vaynerchuk, but you guys. The thing I want to leave you with is what I call be, do, have. So a lot of people have. It's in my training. Okay. Mm-hmm. Literally at the first module, it's all so like a lot of people want to have something, but they don't realize the having is the result, right? The having is the last part. You got to become the person you need to become, right? Create your mindset, your thoughts, your habits, your routines. You got to be, and then you got to do the work that it takes to the income producing activities or whatever you're doing. You got to do the work. And then you'll have. So to be, do, have. So if I could just lead people with that is understand, like, if you're not where you want to be in your life, it's because you're trying to have something and you haven't become the person that you need to become in order to have that. And it's okay, right? I think the biggest thing is losing the ego and saying, hey, okay, I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 30, I'm 60, whatever. And like, I've still got time in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to, first you got to get clear on where you want to go. That's why it's so important to have the vision board, right? So that's the how. So then the doing is, once you have the perfect day, right, is doing the things that person on the vision board in the perfect day, the routines, the habits that you'll set to align with the perfect day. So that's really the big thing I want to leave people with, to say, if you haven't done a vision board and written a perfect day and created a routine and habits that align with that, do it. It'll change your life. I promise you, if you do that and you put the work in, you'll be amazed. You'll look up in a year or 6 months and you'll be like, oh my God, like I'm at a point that I've never been at before. But it's like, if you don't do that, right, you just get on a plane, and you hear this analogy, like wherever it's going to go, it's going to go.
Yeah, wherever the wind takes me.
Wherever the wind takes me. Hey, and listen, if that, it makes you happy and you are like ecstatic living that way, live that way, right? I'm a big believer in that. And but you know, yeah, be do have is how you're going to get there to your goals. And you know, that's what I got, man.
Love it. Hey, last thing, have you done Landmark? The Landmark Forum or any?
No.
Oh, well, that's one of their main things in there is the be, do, have. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is next week, Sophie McLean, who was my Landmark leader like 25 years ago, she's going to be a guest on the show. And Landmark is, you know, an offshoot.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
That? So it's just funny when you said that. It was the second time that whole thing. There's only so many ways you could draw a square. So, you know, we're all on the same mission. So, dude, thank you. Be, do, have, vision board, ideal day. Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Thanks for everything.
Talk to you in a bit. Peace.
All right, bud.
Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging with us. And remember to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts right here. And we look forward to serving you even more. Remember, download your free guided hypnotic meditation at guidedhypnotic.com. That's guidedhypnotic.com, where you'll get your free anxiety-busting meditation. We look forward to serving you, and if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to reach out. All right, we love you for who you are and who you aren't. God bless.